Hi everyone, I'm Jecelyn, the developer advocate for the Chrome DevTools team. Today, I will share about WebDriver BiDi, a new protocol to improve your browser automation experience. With browser automation, we hope that it reduces the amount of manual and repetitive work involved in testing. We also hope to run the test in batch across different browsers and different versions. That sounds great, but in real life, you might hit one of the three scenarios below. 1. Something you tested manually works perfectly, but your script just doesn't work. 2. When running multiple tests, the test execution takes forever. Last one, perhaps the most frustrating one, after spending all the effort in automating the test, you still need to perform the same test manually on certain browsers because your automation tool doesn't support that browser. To know why test execution is slow in certain frameworks and why browser support is limited in certain automation libraries, we need to understand how browser automation actually works. Say you have a coffee page and you want to automate the navigation to the page and click on the espresso. This is what you do. You pick an automation tool, set it up, and write the test scripts. Behind the scenes, your automation tools will translate your scripts and run them in the browser through some sort of protocol. There are two major automation protocols at the moment, the WebDriver and the Chrome DevTools protocol. The WebDriver BiDi is another upcoming new protocol. Let's take a look at both of these protocols before we jump into WebDriver BiDi. If you are using Selenium, Nightwatch, or WebDriver IO, you are using WebDriver under the hood. WebDriver is a web standard. It is well supported across all major browser vendors. For every new release, these browsers will update and publish a new version of the driver. Your automations tool translate your script into HTTP requests and communicate them with browser drivers through the WebDriver protocol. Browser drivers then communicate with the browser via internal browser-specific protocols. For our coffee example, it means the automation tool sends a HTTP post request for the page navigation. Then, it makes another request to get the coffee element, and finally, a request to click the espresso. The browser driver handles the request and sends back the response over the same HTTP connection. However, the second step is a bit tricky. A lot of time, you need to wait indefinitely until the element shows on screen. In our case, the coffee is loaded over a network request. We need to wait for that before we can find and click it. Due to the nature of HTTP, the browser drivers are not able to notify the automation libraries when espresso is ready. The libraries need to constantly send a request to the browser drivers to check for the status. From the example above, we know that WebDriver is slower compared to other protocols because each classic command requires HTTP handshakes. Next, let's take a look at the Chrome DevTools protocols. The CDP is very well documented. From the name, you can guess that this protocol is originally designed for the Chrome DevTools team for debugging purposes. However, since the protocol is fast and powerful, Puppeteer uses CDP under the hood for automation purpose. Not only that, most mainstream automation tools support CDP. They provide a way for you to use CDP for some low-level control. In fact, Chrome Driver uses CDP under the hood as well. Different from WebDriver, CDP communicates directly with Chromium-based browsers. Automation tools issue commands through CDP, and these commands are sent to the browser via WebSocket. Going back to our coffee example, it sends a command to the browser to start a page navigation. Then, It sends another command to find the coffee, and finally 2 commands to simulate the click event, to press and release the mouse. CDP uses WebSocket. Therefore, the communications are bidirectional by default. Once the browser completes the request, it sends the updates back to the tools automatically. No pulling needed to wait for the coffee. Here is an example of how CDP works. You can go to the Chrome DevTools, use the Experimental Protocol Monitor tab to test it. Once you enable the experiment, issue a command to navigate to the coffee page. Once the page navigation is complete, we receive a response. From here, you can also see that the CDP is quite chatty. There are many other commands that get issued as well for debugging purposes. For testing, we actually don't need most of this information. Since the CDP is developed for debugging purposes, some APIs are relatively complex as well. But the good thing is, CDP is faster for real-time communication. Also, since CDP is designed to cover all debugging needs, it supports more low-level controls compared to WebDriver. It supports features like simulate device mode and geolocation, intercept network requests, as well as getting console messages. Back in the time when WebDriver protocol was developed, there was no need for low-level control. However, times have changed, and testing now requires more and more fine-grained actions. By the way, apart from using protocols like WebDriver and CDP, there are other ways to achieve browser automation as well. For example, frameworks like Cypress and TestCafe use JavaScript to run the tests in the browser. Similar to WebDriver and CDP, these frameworks have their own set of challenges as well. Therefore, these frameworks also support CDP for you to get lower level of control. Here come the questions. Now, we know how browser automation and different protocol works. How can we improve the fundamentals of cross-browser automation? Take a look at the 2 protocols again. WebDriver has the best cross-browser support, and the API is designed for testing. While CDP is limited to Chromium browsers and more complex to use, it is faster because it supports bidirectional messaging and offers lower level of control. Let's take only the good stuff of both of these protocols, and that is what the WebDriver BiDi project is about. It is a new standard browser automation protocol that lets you write tests with any of your favorite automation tools and automate them in any browsers. WebDriver BiDi will support fast communication by default and come with a fine-grained low-level control and ergonomic APIs that are built with testing in mind. Sound exciting? Great! The WebDriver BiDi protocol is still a work in progress. It is part of the web standard and it received contribution from various browser vendors like Apple and Mozilla. It takes a huge amount of effort from different vendors to establish and implement a new protocol. First, there is a process in place for public specification and request for comments. After the specs, the next step is verification. It involves creating a set of predefined test suites. These tests need to be runnable by all browsers to make sure the browser implementations are correct and compatible with each other. Once the test suites are ready, it is time for implementation. You can track the implementation status of each browser with this link. Some of you might be wondering why you should care about the project and what you can do. It is a fair question because the works are mostly done by the browsers and automation libraries, not you. However, as the developer and QA engineers that write tests day in and day out, we should care about the DX of testing and the ecosystem. Introducing a new protocol takes time, and it requires feedback from different parties to make it work. At the same time, it also takes time for the automation tools to adopt. Some tools adopt quicker, some are slower. The quicker your favorite tools adopt this protocol, the faster it can improve your workflow and help you better at running tests. You can help by sharing this project with your fellow tester, developers, and on social media. Let your favorite libraries know that you want this feature. Once your framework implements WebDriver BiDi, be an early adopter, test and implement them. That's all for today. I hope you're excited about the future of cross-browser automation with WebDriver BiDi. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. Ciao!